Angels, Myth, Legends, and History. Written by KIV Books. Narrated by Tom Chandler. Introduction. Do you like angels, or are you curious about them and how they came to be? Do you wish to learn about the origins of angels as shaped by history and mythology? If so, then this is the right book for you. Angels have been a critical part of humanity for as long as we can imagine. Often depicted as benevolent beings, they have been at the center of many religious texts, especially in Abrahamic religions, Christianity especially. But angels have a long and varied history, and so if you are wondering, who are angels? Where did they originate? What makes angels who they are? And more, then you have come to the right place. In this book, we will cover the varied origins of angels, depictions of angels in religious texts with a major focus on Christianity, mythology surrounding angels, famous angels in the Bible, angel portrayals in modern times, and more. So, without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1. Angels. How they came to be. Most religious texts, and more so Christianity, define an angel as a being with greater power and ability than human beings. Often, angels acted as God's messengers, with each angel serving a specific purpose for God. They act as an intermediate between God and human beings. The term comes from the Greek word angelos, or the Latin word angelus, both equivalent to the Hebrew word malach, which directly translates to the one sent or the one going, respectively. In essence, an angel meant a messenger. However, the Hebrew meaning did not distinguish between human or divine messenger. However, the Latin word angelus distinguished between a divine or spiritual messenger from a human messenger. The divine messenger was angelus, while legatus was the name for a human messenger. Thus, the literal meaning of the word angel relates more to the function or status of these beings rather than their essence or nature. This means that angels, in a literal definition, were more what they did, pass messages, rather than who they were, supernatural beings. Any other essence or cosmic nature they possessed was related to their relationship to their source. In Abrahamic religions, this was God. In other texts, it could be a different ultimate being. Thus, angels were initially not supernatural creatures. Rather, they were messengers of God or any supreme being who would then grant them powers. However, over the years, angels have taken on identities that have surpassed what had been their functional relationships to the sacred or holy being. This means angel depictions, and especially in art, created the imagery of angels as semi-divine or even divine figures. Where angels came from according to Christianity. In the Bible, God created the angels through His Son, Jesus Christ, with the Bible stating in Colossians chapter 1, verses 13 to 17, "For He rescued us from the dominion of the darkness, and brought us into the kingdom of the Son He loves, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of our sins." The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in Him all things, angels included, were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible or invisible, whether thrones, or powers, or rulers, or authorities, all things have been created through Him and for Him. He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. Angels were neither able to marry nor procreate. In Mark chapter 12, verse 25, Jesus Christ says, "When the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven." This means God personally created all angels existing in the Bible. While the exact number of angels in the Bible remains unknown, passages reveal that their numbers are vast, and nowhere is this made clearer than in Revelation chapter 5, verse 11. Then I looked, and I heard around the throne and the living creatures and the elders the voice of many angels, numbering myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands. Angel ranks. Because he had so many angels, God felt the need to create ranks to ensure his angels would each be aware of their duties. The angel with the greatest power and authority is Michael, also called the archangel, a term that directly translates to chief angel. Michael is one of only two angels whose names the Bible reveals, with the other one being the angel Gabriel. In the only two Bible verses that mention it, Jude 9 and 1 Thessalonians 4:16, archangel is in singular form, suggesting that only one angel bears the title. Jude 9, but even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not himself dare to condemn him for slander, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first." However, other sacred scriptures have detailed the existence of three archangels: Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and Archangel Raphael. Archangels. The archangels, also called the seven princes of heaven, or sometimes the watchers, are mostly found in Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Many consider them the first group of angels God created and are the most loyal to him. The Bibles widely used by Catholics, Protestants, and many other Christian denominations mention only two archangels. The same is true about the Quran. The two archangels mentioned are Michael and Gabriel, or Michael and Jibril, in the Quran. However, the apocryphal book of Enoch mentions all the seven angels. According to the Demonic Paradise website, one of the histories of the archangels stated that the existing seven archangels existed soon after Lucifer's rebellion. When God banished Lucifer from heaven, one entire choir of angels followed him and fell with him. Reportedly, other angels from other choirs also followed him in his rebellion. Lucifer, considered one of the bright stars in God's kingdom, Isaiah 14:12, had been part of God's archangels. Another version of the mythology is that the seven archangels used to be just normal angels serving in a choir within heaven's circles. These seven angels, starting from the second lowest choir, became outraged by the terrible offense of Lucifer and his legions in trying to usurp God, that they positioned themselves between God's throne and Lucifer and his legions so that they would defend God's dignity, despite them being much more inferior to Lucifer and his legions. Impressed by their heroics, God elevated them and gave them new powers and abilities, making them archangels. Once elevated, the new seven archangels, led by Michael, then fought against Lucifer and his legions, casting him and his followers to hell. Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is God's leading angel, and his depictions are that he is of exceptional strength and courage. He often fights for and defends people who love God and empowers believers to set their faith in God. In Revelation chapter 12, verses 7-8, "Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven." The dragon in this passage refers to Satan. Art depicts Archangel Michael wielding a sword or spear, often representing his role as the angelic leader in spiritual battles. Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel was the angel who delivered the news of Jesus' conception to Mary. He is the angel tasked with making God's message understandable to people and helping them accept it. For example, when Daniel had a vision, God tasked angel Gabriel with explaining its meaning to Daniel. Daniel chapter 8, verse 16, "And I heard a man's voice from the Ulai calling, 'Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of the vision.'" And indeed, Gabriel introduces himself as the one asked to deliver insight and understanding to Daniel. Chapter 9, verse 22. He instructed me and said to me, Daniel, I have now come to give you insight and understanding. In Islam, Gabriel, called Jibril, also performs a similar role, often acting as a mediator of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. The reference to his role appears in verse 2 of chapter 2 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Say, whoever is an enemy to Jibril, it is none but he who has brought the Quran down upon your heart, O Muhammad, by permission of Allah, confirming that which was before it, and as a guidance and good tidings for the believers. The Bible does not clearly describe Gabriel. However, his presence among the people to whom he appears seems fear-inflicting. From Daniel chapter 8, verse 17, As he came near the place where I was standing, I was terrified and fell prostrate. Son of man, he said to me, understand that the vision concerns the time of the end. Fear also gripped Zacharias when he saw the angel Gabriel. Gabriel had visited Zacharias to inform him that Elizabeth, his wife, would birth a son whose name would be John, who would grow up to be John the Baptist. From Luke chapter 1, verse 12. And when Zacharias saw him, that is Gabriel, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was also somewhat troubled when she first met Gabriel. From Luke chapter 1, verses 29 to 31. Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, Do not be afraid, Mary, you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. The lack of clearly defined descriptions of Angel Gabriel saw many artists create a wide field of how they would depict him. Thus, several artists took great liberty with how they drew and sculpted the angels. Thus, this has seen recent depictions of Angel Gabriel as androgynous, meaning that the angel possesses feminine and masculine characteristics. He lacks a full masculine body and very little body hair and beard. Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is known as the angel of healing. He works to heal people's minds, bodies, and spirits. The Bible does not mention the Archangel Raphael. However, he does appear in the apocryphal book of Tobit, or Tobias, considered an inspired piece of writing by the Catholic Church. From Tobit chapter 12, verses 14 to 16. I was sent to test you then. At the same time, God sent me to heal you and Sarah, your son's bride. I am Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand ready and who enter the Lord's glorious presence. Raphael said these words as he appeared before Tobit and his son Tobias. Raphael appears to Tobit and Tobias as a human being, but later reveals himself after they treat him well. This came after Raphael heals Tobit of total blindness. From Tobias 11, verse 4. So both went on ahead together, and Raphael said to him, Take the gall in your hand. And the dog ran along behind them. From 11:7 to 8, Raphael said to Tobias before he came near to his father, I know that his eyes will be opened. Apply the fish gall to his eyes, and the medicine will make the white scales shrink and peel off from his eyes. Then your father will have sight again and will see the light of day. Often, artists depict Raphael holding a staff, and often standing on a fish, symbolizing his healing of Tobias's father, Tobit, using a fish's gall. The Bible does not describe Raphael. Instead, his images have been from early mosaics and drawings. Uriel. The name Uriel translates to fire of God. Uriel is not mentioned majorly in many mainstream religious texts. However, he is mentioned in the book of Enoch as being the specific watcher who watched over Hades. He is the archangel responsible for shining the light of God's truth into the darkness. Believers often turn to Uriel when they seek God's will in making decisions or resolving conflict. In Enoch 19 and 21, Uriel is the angel tasked with telling Enoch that the fallen angels who rebelled against God will be judged. Then Uriel said, "Here the angels who cohabited with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance made men profane, and caused them to err, so that they sacrificed to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment with which they shall be judged until they are consumed. And their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven that they might salute them. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it." Uriel is also referenced in another apocryphal book, 2nd Esdras, when God sends him to answer questions asked by prophet Ezra to God. Quote, "And he, Uriel, said to me, 'You cannot understand the things with which you have grown up. How then can your mind comprehend the way of the Most High? And how can one who is already worn out by the corrupt world understand incorruption?' When I heard this, I fell on my face and said to him, 'It would be better for us not to be here than to come here and live in ungodliness, and to suffer and not understand why.'" Artists often depict him holding a scroll of text and a light in his hand, referring to him shining the light on God's people to guide them towards God. Raguel. Raguel translates to friend of God. He is the archangel of justice and fairness. He works for God's will for human relationships. He also ensures God's will among fellow angels, often supervising their work and holding them accountable. In 1 Enoch 23 we read, "And these are the names of the holy angels who keep watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels, namely the holy angel of the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the world and on the lights." In art, Raguel will often appear holding a scale, representing his work in fighting injustice so that good triumphs over evil in the world. Zerachiel. Sometimes called Serakel, Baruchek, Salafiel, or Seriel, according to LearnReligions.com, Zerachiel is the archangel of God's judgment and the angel of prayer. He is the angel who helps people connect to God through prayer. He does this by blocking out distractions whenever one is praying. The Bible does not name Zerachiel, but he is an angel who appears in the book of Revelation, chapter 8, 3-4, as the angel who presents the people's prayers to God. Revelation chapter 8, verses 3-4. Another angel, who had a golden censer, came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense to offer, with the prayers of all God's people on the golden altar in front of the throne. The smoke of the incense, together with the prayers of God's people, went up before God from the angel's hand. Remiel. Remiel means mercy of God or compassion of God. It is sometimes written as Jeremiel, Jerachmiel, Hieramichel, Ramael, or Ramiel. He was the angel who gave hope and faith, and often communicated these messages through visions and dreams. He communicated messages of hope from God to people. So when people pray to God, Ramiel was the angel who helped them learn what God wanted them to change to fulfill his purpose. Artists often depict Ramiel as appearing in a vision or dream, with the color purple serving as his energy color. Ramiel is mentioned in the apocryphal book of Baruch. "And while I was pondering these and similar things, behold, Ramiel, the Malach who is set over true visions, was sent to me and said to me, 'Why does your heart trouble you, Baruch, and why are you disturbed by your thought?'" Then he also appears in 2nd Baruch, chapter 71, verse 3. "I have come to tell you these things because your prayer has been heard by the Most High," he says. However, Ramiel soon fell from God's grace because he started taking mortal wives, mating with them, and revealing forbidden knowledge. The angel Phanuel took his place. Phanuel. The name Phanuel, also spelled Peniel, Paniel, Penuel, Phanuel, or Orpheal, is, quote, the face of God. He is known as the angel of repentance and hope. His job is to encourage people to repent of their sins and pursue a relationship with God. Artists often depict Phanuel with the color blue as his primary color, and with an emphasis on his eyes, representing his work of watching over God's throne. It also represents his duties of watching over people who turn away from sin and towards God. Archangel Phanuel, as depicted in the Ethiopian scroll with the Lion of Judah, a prayer scroll. Seraphim. Seraphim are other high-ranking angels stationed near God's throne. They serve as caretakers of God's throne. They are described as having 6 wings, 2 covering their faces, 2 covering their feet, and 2 for flying. Additionally, they are also the angels who continuously sing praise to God. In Isaiah chapter 6, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly." Twain means 2. According to scholars, each pair of wings that the seraphim have serves a different purpose. The 2 that cover their faces denote their reverence and awe, acting as a protection from the radiance of God's glory. The wings covering their feet are for humbly covering the seraphim feet to conceal their unworthiness while in God's presence, while the other 2 sets are for flying. The seraphim are also very high-ranking angels whom God created to worship and serve him, something referenced in the next chapter of Isaiah chapter 6. "And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Verse 3. These angels are said to have the appearance of burning flames. Indeed, the word seraph comes from the Hebrew word serap, which literally translates to burn with fire. According to Bible scholars, the role of seraphim is to remind us to serve God through worship. Since their whole job is to honor, they then make his holiness known to anyone who approaches the throne of God. They will often be shown singing what is called Trisagion, thrice holy, thought to reference the Holy Trinity. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The earth is full of his glory." Isaiah 6:3. Cherubim. A cherub, the plural is cherubim, is an angelic figure mentioned several times in the Bible, whose main role is serving the will of God and performing God's divine duty in the earthly realm. According to Ezekiel chapter 10, verse 14, each cherub has 4 faces and 4 wings. Quote, "Each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub, the second the face of a human being, the third the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle." And unlike depictions in pop culture and some paintings, cherubim were nothing like the cute baby-like images we see around. In fact, further down the book of Ezekiel, his vision of cherubim was that of something that was almost frightening. In verse 4, "I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal, and in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. In appearance, their form was that of a man, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, their feet were like those of a calf, and gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had the hands of a man. All 4 of them had faces and wings, and their wings touched one another. Each one went straight ahead. They did not turn as they moved." Ezekiel 1. The cherubim appear first in Genesis, where the Bible mentions them as having been the angels whom God tasked with protecting the Garden of Eden after God expelled Adam and Eve from it. Genesis chapter 3:24. "After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life." Many of the scriptures in the Bible also mention that Satan had once been one of God's best cherubim. Indeed, the book of Ezekiel tells us that Lucifer was, quote, "on the holy mountain of God," which in this instance means heaven. It says, "You were the anointed cherub who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire." Some scholars consider the cherubim a symbolic representation of the spiritual existence in immediate contact with God. Chapter 2, Misconceptions Around Angels. Popular media has told us that angels are there for our service, but this is not true, not according to the Bible anyway. As depicted in the Bible, angels have always been at the service of God, and He would use them to help people in the earth realm. Indeed, Revelations chapter 14, verses 6 and 7 says that God uses angels to preach the good news of the kingdom of God. Quote, "Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, 'Fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come, and worship Him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and springs of water.'" God also uses angels to keep the Christian congregation free of contamination from wickedness. Quote, "So it shall be at the end of the world, the angels come forth and sever the wicked from among the just," said Jesus in Matthew chapter 13, verse 49. However, unlike the narrative peddled by popular culture, God does not assign each of us a guardian angel, though angels do look out for the spiritual well-being of God's servant. This belief comes from this passage in Acts chapter 12, verses 6 to 7 and 11. "The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. 'Quick, get up,' he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then Peter came to himself and said, 'Now I know without a doubt that the Lord has sent His angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were hoping would happen.' Many have interpreted this to mean that God assigned an angel specifically to help Peter out of his chains. Thus, that means that there is always a guardian angel always watching out for each of us. However, the Bible tells us that God does not send His angels to protect everyone from every temptation. However, He will always provide a way out from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 12 to 13. "So if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." Furthermore, the Bible does not tell us how many angels there are. Even the reference to their numbers in Revelation 5:11 says that they are thousands upon thousands, which would not be enough for the billions upon billions of people that have walked on this earth. There is a misconception that angels can be in several places simultaneously. That is not true. The Bible tells us that only God is omnipresent. Angels are limited in many ways, including their knowledge and presence. Daniel chapter 10, verse 13. "But the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, because I was detained there with the king of Persia." This verse tells us that the archangel Gabriel, who was on his way to see Daniel, had to get help from the angel Michael to help him escape from Persia. Had he been an omnipresent being, he would already have been there with Daniel and wouldn't have needed to go. However, God indeed sends His angels to protect us. It just doesn't mention that each of us has a personal angel with us. Quote, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Psalm 91, verses 11 to 12. While angels are spiritual beings, Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, meaning they do not experience pain the way we do, they can still endure suffering. And this brings us to the other side of angels. Some angels visited Abraham. The Bible never mentions the names of the three. However, the Talmud, a compilation of ancient sacred Jewish teachings, names the three angels, Raphael, Michael, and Gabriel. Aholah and Aholibah. There is a misconception that Aholah and Aholibah are angels. Referred to as Aholah and Aholibah in the Hebrew Bible, the two are instead a personification of Samaria, Israel's capital, and Jerusalem, Judah's capital, and appear in the book of Ezekiel. In the book, Aholah and Aholibah are two sisters married to Yahweh, both of them. It says, "The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, there were two women, daughters of the same mother. They became prostitutes in Egypt, engaging in prostitution from their youth. In that land their breasts were fondled and their virgin bosoms caressed. The older was named Aholah, and her sister was Aholibah. They were mine, and gave birth to sons and daughters. Aholah is Samaria, and Aholibah is Jerusalem." While the two are wives of Yahweh, the Bible does not refer to them as angels. Indeed, the story about the two sisters is made very clear that it is an allegory of God's strained relationship with the kingdoms of Israel and Judah due to the two kingdoms engaging in sins like prostitution and adultery. God then orders the destruction of the cities of Samaria and Jerusalem. "Therefore thus saith the Lord God, because thou hast forsaken me, and cast me behind thy back, therefore bear thou also thy lewdness and thy whoredoms. The Lord said moreover unto me, Son of man, wilt thou judge Aholah and Aholibah? Yea, declare unto them their abominations. For thus saith the Lord God, I will bring up a company upon them, and I will give them to be removed and spoiled. And the company shall stone them with stones, and dispatch them with their swords. They shall slay their sons and their daughters, and burn up their houses with fire." Ezekiel 23:35-47. Chapter 3. Demons. While angels are often associated with benevolence, some angels sinned against God and joined Satan in his rebellion against God. We read in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment." These angels are what we now know as demons. Demon origins. The word demon comes from the Greek word daimon, which means supernatural being or spirit. As the translation suggests, daimon was not meant to be the name of a malevolent spirit. However, it referred to any spiritual being said to influence a person's character. Indeed, good demons, such as the agathos daimon, translated to good spirit, existed. This was a spirit that was benevolent in its dealings with human beings. However, over time, the term gradually became applied to spirits of the supernatural realm who pressured human beings to perform actions that were detrimental to their well-being. However, the demons were never classified as completely malevolent beings even then. Indeed, in ancient Hinduism, the devas, that's a variation of the word daimon, were viewed as gods. In Hinduism, the malevolent spirits or evil lords were called the asuras. Meanwhile, an ancient Indo-Iranian religion from which Zoroastrianism evolved may have shaped the views of demons as being completely malevolent beings. Zoroastrianism viewed the devas as malevolent beings. They were supernatural entities who had undesirable characteristics. Meanwhile, the Ahuras were the good lords, which was almost a subversion of ancient Hinduism. While the Bible does not reveal much about demons, much of what we know about demons is in Revelations. Indeed, in Revelation, we learn in detail how Angel Michael and other angels in heaven fought and banished Satan from the heavens along with his angels or demons. Then war broke out in heaven, it says. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, that is Satan, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Revelation 12:7-9. The Bible describes the demons as dangerous, and indeed we see it in the number of demonic possessions we witness in the New Testament when Jesus heals a man possessed. Matthew 12, verse 22. "Then was brought unto him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb. And he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spake and saw." The most common depiction of demons is their horns, something due to their description in the book of Revelations. Revelations 13:13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name Blasphemy. Popular culture often portrays demons as being all-powerful and able to bend reality to their will. However, as with the other angels, demons are neither omnipresent, omniscient, nor omnipotent in the Bible. Regarding omnipresence, we can conclude that demons are not omnipresent in Mark chapter 13, when, after Jesus casts out demons from a man, they enter pigs. This shows that they are limited in their presence and can only possess a limited number of bodies at once. Mark 5:13, so Jesus gave them permission. And the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. When it comes to omniscience, which means all-knowing, we also know that Jesus and the angels in heaven do not know the day and hour of the second coming of Jesus. Thus, this means demons, who are fallen angels, do not know as much as we think they do. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 36, Jesus says, "But concerning that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only." Demons are also not all-powerful, as we see in Romans 8:38. "For I am sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord." Thus, as with angels, the power, knowledge, and presence of demons and the devil are inflated. While angels are created to serve God and act on God's will, such as be his messengers, protectors of people, and so on, demons work with the devil to try and get people to turn away from God. And we see this very evidently during the temptation of Jesus, where the devil himself takes on the job to tempt Jesus. Matthew 4:8-9. "Again, the devil took Jesus to a very high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, and he said to him, All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." This shows the devil's desire to be worshipped, and we understand that he will often use his many demons to do that work for him among other human beings. In the Bible, very few demons are mentioned by their names, and most will often just be referred to as unclean spirits, such as Mark 5:13, or impure spirit, Mark 5:13, or fallen angels, Revelation 12:7-9. However, theologian scholars and demonologists, people who specialize in demonology, the study of demons, have researched the fallen angels and come up with some of the most well-known demons. In the book The Lantern of Light, thought to have been written by John Wycliffe, an English scholar from 1320s to 1384, theologian, biblical translator, and Catholic priest, classified demons based on the 7 deadly sins, often referred to as the 7 princes of hell. The 7 fallen angels. In the Bible, the 7 fallen angels, while never mentioned in many Abrahamic religious scriptures, are angels God expelled from heaven after they sinned. After their expulsion, these angels decided to become those who tempt humans from God. We read in the classic passage from Revelation chapter 12, "Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon," that is Satan. "And the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." Jude 1:6. Jude only has 1 chapter. "And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day." Lucifer. While originally referred to as the morning star, Wycliffe classified Lucifer as the demon responsible for pride, since his desire to take over from God led to his downfall. He saw himself as equal to, or greater than, God. The name Lucifer does not appear much in the Bible and is only mentioned in some Bible versions. For example, in the King James Version, the Isaiah 14:12 passage calls him Lucifer. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? Other Bibles will often go with morning star, the meaning of the Hebrew word Lucifer. Beelzebub. Beelzebub was originally a Philistine god, but would become a demon in Abrahamic religions. He is capable of flight and is known as the demon responsible for gluttony. He appears in the Bible as Beelzebub, the god of the Philistine city of Ekron in 2 Kings 1:1-18. Here we read, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say to them, Is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Belial. Belial is a fallen angel who is the demon responsible for wickedness, lawlessness, and rebellion. Demonology says that the demon appears to people as a distinguished gentleman. However, the Bible never gives Belial a physical form. Instead, he is referenced through the wickedness of people, insinuating that he has no form and instead possesses people and makes them act wickedly. From 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 16, Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken hitherto. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 22, Then answered all the wicked men and men of Belial, of those that went with David, and said, Because they went with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man and his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Dagon. Dagon was a fish god of Assyria who was worshipped by the Philistines and wreaked havoc through the whole Bible. How the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and celebrate, saying, Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. Judges 16:23. According to demonology history, Dagon was on Lucifer's side during the war in heaven, and thus cast down from heaven alongside Lucifer. Chemosh. Chemosh is a fallen angel who the Bible presents as one who blessed kingdoms with military power in exchange for their worship, and thus he became the god of the Moabites. Judges 11:24. Will you not possess what Chemosh your god gives you to possess? And all that the Lord our God has dispossessed before us, we will possess. Judges 11:24. Kings 11:7. On a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. Chemosh is shown to be a bloodthirsty demon, even having kings offer him human sacrifice. 1 Kings 3:27. Then the king of Moab took his oldest son, who would have been the next king, and sacrificed him as a burnt offering on the wall. So there was great anger against Israel, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their own land. Moloch. Demonology history states that Moloch, also called Molech, Baal, or Moloch, had been part of Lucifer's rebellion. According to Paradise Lost, Book 2, Moloch was a fierce and strong spirit who fought in heaven. After his casting down, he grew even fiercer by despair. After being cast out, Moloch advocates for another open war because he can't stand defeat. The Bible presents Moloch as a god for the Canaanites, and his worship makes his worshippers commit all kinds of evil, including infanticide. Leviticus 18:21, Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. The book of Jeremiah also mentions this. In Jeremiah 32:35, they built high places for Baal in the valley of Ben Hinnom to sacrifice their sons and daughters to Moloch, though I never commanded, nor did it enter my mind, that they should do such a detestable thing, and so make Judah sin. In art, Moloch is depicted as having a bull's head, but having a body similar to a human's. An infant is also placed in his hands, and those worshipping him have to listen to the infant cry as it is burnt when Moloch is heated. Abaddon. Abaddon is mentioned in Revelations 9:11 and is also called Apollyon. According to Hebrew texts, Abaddon means destruction or a place of destruction. Revelation 9:11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. According to mythology, Abaddon is 9 feet tall at least, and resembles a rotting human skeleton. The skeleton has a bruised-looking flesh and a bent head with holes instead of eyes and nose and 2 rows of sharp, jagged teeth. Mammon. Mammon is an entity that promises people wealth and extreme riches. Matthew references Mammon as being one of 2 masters that no human being can serve at the same time, in chapter 6, verse 24. No man can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and Mammon. In the Bible, Mammon means wealth, but artists have denoted it as an entity in itself, thus becoming a demon on its own. Satan, the adversary. The name Satan came from a Hebrew word for adversary and did not necessarily denote an evil entity. In fact, the mention of Satan in early texts was the Satan, since it was not a distinct personal name. However, that changed with time and became an adversarial position that could be occupied by both humans and angels, meaning that the Satan would change and was not a single evil entity. Later writings would make him an evil entity whose name was thus Satan. However, while Satan means adversary, in the book of Job, we learn that Satan does not act without God's approval. Indeed, in Job, he acts as God's agent provocateur, testing Job's faith in God with God's approval. Chapter 1, verse 6, One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, Where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied. Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. This verse tells us of the very nature of angels, which is that the power they possess comes from God, including fallen angels. After their banishment from heaven, Satan and his angels continue to roam the earth as they serve Satan's plot to lure people into sin. As we saw with Judas Iscariot, Satan might also possess a person and make them do evil. Luke chapter 22, verses 3-4. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples. And Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. Chapter 4. The Angel of Death. The Bible never mentions the angel of death by name. As illustrated in Exodus, many Bible verses never refer to the angel who strikes down the Egyptians as the angel of death during the Passover. He is the destroyer in the NIV, KJV, and NKJV versions. Exodus 12:23 in the NIV says, When the Lord goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians, He will see the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe and will pass over that doorway, and he will not permit the destroyer to enter your house and strike you down. In Revelation 6:4, the angel is only described by what he will do and never referred to as an angel of death. It says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." And when the angel is referenced directly as an angel, it is never as an angel of death. 2 Kings 19:35, "That night the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies." However, religious scholars have said that Judaism attributed that role to Azrael, who was referred to as an angel of destruction. According to Britannica.com, Mythology state that Azrael is the angel who separates the souls from the bodies and is responsible for transporting those souls following death. He is described as being of cosmic size. He has 4,000 wings and a body made up of as many eyes and tongues as there are living beings. He is said to stand with one foot in either the fourth or seventh heaven and the other on the razor-sharp bridge that divides paradise and hell. The mythologies state that Azrael earned himself the role of the angel of death because he proved to be the only angel brave enough to go down to earth and face the hordes of the devil, called Iblis, so that he could bring to God the materials he needed to make man. Thus, God gave him a register to all of humanity and made him the angel of death. However, while Azrael can tell names of those who are blessed, these are usually circled in light, and those that are damned, these are usually circled in darkness, he does not possess the knowledge of when someone will die. Thus, he is not out here inflicting death on people as he wishes. Instead, he only knows when someone will die when a leaf bearing the name of the person drops from the tree beneath God's throne. Then, God tasks him with separating the person's body and soul after 40 days. When conducting the death, Azrael will often gently draw out the souls of believers and carry them up to the seventh heaven. However, he will rip out the souls of believers from their bodies and hurl them back to earth as punishment for failing to believe in God. The moniker Angel of Death has been greatly fueled by pop culture, even earning him another name, the Grim Reaper. In modern literature, the Grim Reaper appears as a tall, skeletal being wearing a long hooded robe and carrying a scythe to reap human souls. This image of an embodiment of death became a thing during the Black Death between 1347 to 1351. The Black Death pandemic wiped out close to 1/3 of Europe's population. Thus, death became a permanent fixture in many people's imagination, and thus they conjured up an image to represent it. The figure was skeletal, to represent the human body after decaying, while the robes were a reminiscence of the robes that religious figures wore during funeral services. The scythe symbolized how the spirit harvested human souls, as the scythe was used to reap crops ready for harvest from the earth. While the figure was not a result of any religious texts, in the modern day he has become as much a symbol of the angel of death as Azrael. In fact, since Azrael is not mentioned anywhere in the Bible or Quran, it would not be surprising to learn that many Christians would consider the pop culture Grim Reaper as the symbolic representation of death. Chapter 5. The Nephilim, the Giants. As mentioned before, angels were never to marry or be married to human beings. However, some angels went against God's will and began procreating with human women. We read in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. So we can interpret the Nephilim as partly fallen angels and giants. Indeed, the word comes from the Hebrew name Nephilim, whose direct translation means giants. Christian scholars theorize that these sons of God were fallen angels who reproduced with human women, either directly or by possessing human males who would then bear children with human females. The Nephilim then became men of great evil, which we can interpret so because God promises to wipe out the whole human race through floods a few verses later. Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 to 7. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart had only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. And thus, God asked Noah to build an ark, after which the flooding then killed off any living thing that did not make it to the ark, including the Nephilim. However, there remains a possibility that some Nephilim survived the flood, as they are mentioned later in the book of Numbers, as the Israelites prepare to enter the promised land of Canaan. In the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verses 32 to 33, we read, And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land, through which we have gone to search it, is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Aside from the Nephilim, we also learn of other giants, Rephaites, who may have also been due to what happened in Genesis 6. In Deuteronomy chapter 2, verses 20 to 21, that too was considered a land of the Rephaites, who used to live there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzamites. They were a people strong and numerous and as tall as the Anakites. The Lord destroyed them from before the Ammonites, who drove them out and settled in their place. Thus, while the Nephilim were not exactly angels, they are prominent in angelic mythology. They serve as a lesson on why God did not want the angels to reproduce with people. Chapter 6, Angels in Media. The fascination with angels has moved from the Bible and gone on to become part of the wider mythology of the existence of supernatural beings. Many pop culture representations of angels come from the artistic representations we have seen in this book. Angels in art. The representation of cherubim as cute, flying angel babies, for example, came from Renaissance art and was later adopted into Christian art. During the Renaissance era, artists began to explore ways to illustrate all kinds of subjects. During this time, artists such as Raphael and others created characters called putti. These characters looked like male babies or toddlers and were meant to represent pure love. They often spotted wings, and thus people began associating these figures with the theme of love, as with Cupid. At that time, Cupid, the Greek god of love, was often portrayed as a young man. But with the growing popularity of putti, that soon changed, and other artists began to draw Cupid as a baby or toddler. During this time, people began referring to images of putti as cherubim. This referred to the fact that the cherubim were angels who protected God's heavenly glory and represented purity. Thus grew the popularity of people referring to the putti as cherubim to represent the purity of love. Angels in film and TV shows. Meanwhile, films and TV shows have taken some liberty in portraying angels. However, early portrayals of angels were more in line with religious texts. They also mostly feature these angels in human disguises. Below, we look at some prominent portrayals of angels in some films and TV shows. In the 1935 film The Passing of the Third Floor Back, an angel visits a disturbed home in human disguise and helps them learn how to live better with each other. The unnamed angel encourages members of the household to be kind and loving. Another film, I Married an Angel, released in 1938, tells the story of a man who swears only to marry an angel. Soon enough, an angel flies into his life, and he marries her. However, he soon encounters problems with her, especially because she is extremely honest and straightforward. Another positive portrayal of an angel in human disguise is the 1943 film A Guy Named Joe. The film is about Pete, a pilot who dies in a plane crash and gets a new life as an angel of goodness. In Wings of Desire, 1987, two angels, Cassie and Damiel, get cast down to earth and begin roaming the streets of Berlin. However, they are invisible to everyone except children and other angels. In the movie, the angels have angelic wings. As they roam the earth, Damiel falls in love with a human being and longs to become one to experience what it feels like. However, not all portrayals of angels in films and TV shows have been positive. The 1999 film Dogma features Loki and Bartleby, two angels banished from heaven due to their bad behavior. The film is about the two then plotting to get back to heaven by exploiting a clerical loophole. Meanwhile, Fallen, a 1998 film starring Denzel Washington, featured a fallen angel called Azazel, an amorphous spirit who changes bodies with the slightest touch. Meanwhile, the film The Prophecy, 1995, also displays the selfish nature of angels. In the film, Archangel Gabriel is a fallen angel who comes down to earth searching for an evil soul to aid him in an angelic civil war that has broken out in heaven. In the film, Uziel dies in a fight with another angel, Simon, whom Gabriel then later kills. Lucifer also appears in the movie as an antagonist to Gabriel. He wants to defeat Gabriel since a victory for Gabriel would turn heaven into another hell, something that Lucifer doesn't want. He only wants one hell, the one he occupies and rules. Another TV show, Charmed, also has angels. However, the show refers to them as white lighters, which is believed to refer to Islam's angels, who were made of light. The white lighters are formerly good people who then chose to become white lighters following their death. In the show, the white lighters help witches, including the three main witches in the show. This is a flip of the traditional belief that witches use help from demons to conduct their witchcraft. However, the three sisters in the show are also good witches, so that may be why they get help from good angels. Furthermore, the white lighters are not the traditional flying angels. Instead, they can teleport to move around. They also shapeshift, cloak, become invisible, and have healing powers. Another TV show, Supernatural, also takes liberty with its portrayal of angels. The show draws inspiration for its angels from both Christian and Judaic traditions. The show depicts angels as massive in their true form, with a description saying that they are, quote, the size of the Chrysler Building in their true form. The angels are genderless, though they may possess the bodies of either men or women as a disguise. They are supernatural beings, hungry for power, walking around with blades. When they begin to show their true form, they shine brightly, with shadows of their massive wings on their sides. The angels are completely separate beings. Thus, they are not considered to have been humans before. Rather, they are unique creations on their own. However, demons in the show are not just fallen angels, but also corrupted human beings. In the book, A Wind in the Door, the angel in the book, Prognoskis, is a cherubim, and his description is much closer to the Jewish description. In the film, Prognoskis has several eyes and wings. Prognoskis has a distinct personality, often complaining about accompanying his human partner for the battle between good and evil. Prognoskis also refers to the choirs of angels, boasting of how lofty a position it is. These portrayals of angels reveal the wide reimagining of angels in pop culture, far from the beautiful androgynous beings that previous art has shown us to be truthful. Angels are depicted in various ways, depending on the cultural understanding of angels. Thus, while it would be convenient to imagine a single, homogeneous way that angels are or should be, the differences in cultural beliefs means we get a wide variety of who angels are, what they look like, and what they do. Indeed, some films show the angels as beings who possess the power and will to influence events, like Gabriel in the prophecy. Even the Bible itself, the book that made angels more accessible to all of us, describes its different angels in various ways, and in many ways except humans. Conclusion. Angels are, and have always been, a fascinating part of the human experience, making them some of the most enduring spiritual beings, aside from God and the devil. As we have seen, angels have hardly ever existed outside of religion. In fact, we can confidently assume that any depiction of angels comes from their depiction in religious texts. Thus, it is hard to look at the history of angels while avoiding religion. But angels' depictions have been greatly simplified in some time, as we have seen. Cherubim, for example, are not cute babies. We also see that not all angels look alike, and indeed some angels are downright scary sights. However, scary as they all serve the Lord's will. Thus, meeting a cherub with 4 heads puts you in no danger. However, we learn that if angels fall short of the Lord's will, He banishes them from heaven, where they become fallen angels, demons. Thus, they become a scary sight. I hope this book has provided you with the angel knowledge you needed. The end. You have just finished listening to Angels, Myths, Legends, and History, written by KIV Books, narrated by Tom Chandler. This audiobook production is copyright 2023 KIV Books, all rights reserved.